Electrical metallic tubing, or EMT, is a common raceway used in electrical systems. When using EMT, it's crucial to understand the National Electrical Code, or NEC, requirements for equipment grounding. The NEC addresses when EMT can serve as an equipment grounding conductor and when a supplemental equipment grounding conductor, or EG, is required. NEC Article 250.118 outlines the acceptable types of equipment grounding conductors. While EMT is permitted as an equipment grounding conductor under certain conditions, these conditions are critical to understand. The primary consideration regarding EMT and supplemental grounding lies in applications involving flexible metal conduit, or FMC. While the question pertains to EMT, the answer refers to FMC because the rule is typically applied when using flexible sections in an otherwise EMT system. Article 250.118 specifically addresses flexible metal conduit as an equipment grounding conductor. However, Article 250.118 imposes a length limitation. A separate equipment grounding conductor is required within the flexible metal conduit if the length of the flexible metal conduit exceeds 6 feet, or 1.83 meters. This separate equipment grounding conductor must be insulated, covered, or bare, and installed within the flexible metal conduit according to 300.19. Article 300.19 addresses support and securement of conductors in vertical raceways. This requirement ensures the mechanical integrity and proper installation of the grounding conductor. Therefore, the key takeaway is that if a section of flexible metal conduit longer than 6 feet is used in conjunction with your EMT system, a separate grounding conductor is mandatory within that flexible section. This requirement is designed to ensure a low impedance ground fault path, which is critical for the proper operation of overcurrent protective devices and for minimizing the risk of electrical shock. Without a supplemental grounding conductor in these longer flexible ones, the impedance of the conduit itself might be too high to allow sufficient fault current to flow, potentially delaying or preventing the operation of a circuit breaker or fuse. Here's a breakdown of how to approach grounding with EMT systems and flexible metal conduit sections. Firstly, assess your system. Determine if any sections of flexible metal conduit are used in conjunction with your EMT installation. Secondly, measure the length of any flexible metal conduit sections. If any section exceeds 6 feet, a separate equipment grounding conductor is required within that section. Thirdly, select an appropriately sized grounding conductor. The size of the grounding conductor must comply with NEC Table 250.122, which relates the size of the circuit conductors to the required size of the equipment grounding conductor. Fourthly, install the grounding conductor properly. The grounding conductor should be run inside the flexible metal conduit and connected to ground at both ends. Ensure that all connections are made using approved methods and connectors. Finally, inspect and test the installation. After completing the installation, visually inspect all connections and conductors to ensure they are properly installed and secured. Use a multimeter or impedance tester to verify the continuity and impedance of the grounding path. In situations where the EMT system consists entirely of rigid sections of EMT properly connected using listed fittings, and no flexible metal conduit sections exceeding 6 feet are present, the EMT itself can serve as the equipment grounding conductor. However, it is still considered best practice to install a supplemental grounding conductor in all conduit runs regardless of length or material. This provides an additional layer of safety and redundancy and can help to minimize ground loop currents and electrical noise. When selecting fittings for EMT, be sure to use only listed fittings that are specifically designed for grounding purposes. These fittings are designed to provide a reliable electrical connection between sections of conduit, ensuring a continuous grounding path throughout the system. Avoid using fittings that are not listed for grounding, as these may not provide an adequate electrical connection and could compromise the integrity of the grounding system. In addition to the length limitations and the use of listed fittings, there are other important considerations for grounding EMT systems. Firstly, avoid dissimilar metals. When connecting EMT to other metal enclosures or equipment, avoid using dissimilar metals that could lead to galvanic corrosion. Use compatible connectors and fittings to prevent corrosion and ensure a reliable electrical connection. Secondly, protect against physical damage. Protect EMT conduit and grounding conductors from physical damage. If the conduit or conductors are exposed to potential damage, provide additional protection such as conduit gauze or sleeves. Thirdly, ensure proper support. Support EMT conduit properly to prevent sagging or strain on the conduit or connections. Use appropriate hangers and supports to maintain the integrity of the system. In summary, while EMT can serve as an equipment grounding conductor under certain conditions, it is crucial to understand and comply with the NEC requirements. When using flexible metal conduit sections exceeding 6 feet, a separate equipment grounding conductor is mandatory. Always use listed fittings, avoid dissimilar metals, protect against physical damage, and ensure proper support to maintain a safe and reliable electrical system. Always consult the latest edition of the NEC and consult with a qualified electrician or electrical engineer for specific guidance on your project. The NEC is updated regularly, and local codes may also apply. Understanding the NEC is fundamental to safe and compliant electrical installations. The code provides comprehensive guidelines for electrical wiring and equipment aimed at minimizing electrical hazards. Familiarizing yourself with the NEC, particularly Article 250 covering grounding and bonding, is crucial for anyone involved in electrical work. Grounding and bonding are critical concepts for electrical safety. Grounding provides a path for fault current to flow back to the source, allowing overcurrent protective devices to trip and energize the circuit. Bonding ensures that all metallic parts of an electrical system are at the same electrical potential, minimizing the risk of electrical shock. Effective grounding and bonding are essential for protecting people and equipment from electrical hazards. Ground fault circuit interrupters, or GFCIs, are another important safety device. GFCIs are designed to detect even small amounts of leakage current and quickly de-energize the circuit. GFCIs are commonly required in areas where there is a risk of electrical shock, such as bathrooms, kitchens, and outdoor locations. Regular testing of GFCIs is recommended to ensure they are functioning properly. Arc fault circuit interrupters, or SIs, are designed to detect arc faults, which are a common cause of electrical fires. SIs are required in many residential circuits to protect against arc faults that could ignite nearby combustible materials. SIs can help to prevent electrical fires and save lives. Surge protective devices, or SPDs, are designed to protect electrical equipment from voltage surges, such as those caused by lightning strikes or power grid disturbances. SPD can help to prevent damage to sensitive electronic equipment and appliances. Proper selection and installation of SPD are important for effective surge protection. Electrical safety also involves proper lockout/tagout procedures. Lockout/tagout procedures are used to de-energize electrical equipment before performing maintenance or repairs. These procedures help to prevent accidental energization of equipment, which could result in serious injury or death. Following proper lockout/tagout procedures is essential for electrical safety. Regular electrical inspections are important for identifying potential electrical hazards. Electrical inspections should be performed by a qualified electrician or electrical inspector. Inspections can help to identify problems such as overloaded circuits, damaged wiring, and improper grounding. Addressing these issues promptly can help to prevent electrical fires and other hazards. Electrical safety training is essential for anyone who works with electricity. Training should cover topics such as electrical hazards, safe work practices, and the use of personal protective equipment. Proper training can help to reduce the risk of electrical accidents and injuries. When working with electricity, it is important to use the right tools and equipment. Use insulated tools that are designed for electrical work. Wear appropriate personal protective equipment, such as gloves, eye protection, and arc-rated clothing. Using the right tools and equipment can help to protect against electrical shock and burns. Never work on energized electrical equipment unless you are qualified and authorized to do so. If you must work on energized equipment, follow proper safety procedures and use appropriate personal protective equipment. Working on energized equipment is inherently dangerous and should be avoided whenever possible. If you are unsure about any aspect of electrical work, consult with a qualified electrician or electrical engineer. Do not attempt to perform electrical work that you are not qualified to do. Electrical work can be dangerous, and it is important to have the necessary knowledge and skills to perform the work safely. Continuous learning is essential in the electrical field. Stay up to date on the latest codes, standards, and technologies. Attend training courses and seminars to enhance your knowledge and skills. Continuous learning can help you to stay safe and effective in your work. Electrical safety is a shared responsibility. Everyone who works with electricity has a responsibility to follow safe work practices and to protect themselves and others from electrical hazards. By working together, we can create a safer electrical environment for everyone. Here are some additional tips for electrical safety. Firstly, never overload electrical circuits. Overloaded circuits can overheat and cause fires. Avoid plugging too many appliances into a single outlet or circuit. Secondly, use extension cords safely. Do not use extension cords as a permanent wiring solution. If you need more outlets, have a qualified electrician install them. Thirdly, keep electrical equipment dry. Water can conduct electricity and create a shock hazard. Keep electrical equipment away from water and moisture. Fourthly, inspect electrical cords regularly. Check for frayed or damaged cords. Replace any damaged cords immediately. Fifthly, be aware of overhead power lines. Keep a safe distance from overhead power lines when working outdoors. Contact with overhead power lines can be fatal. Sixthly, call 811 before you dig. Before you dig, call 811 to have underground utilities located. This can help to prevent damage to underground electrical cables and other utilities. By following these tips, you can help to prevent electrical accidents and injuries. Remember, electrical safety is everyone's responsibility.